Even in fantasy, there comes a point when truth is no longer optional, where the illusion of utopia becomes a weight on the soul of a story. In the Star Wars series Andor, the character Mon Mothma warns us of this moment.
The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil.
A warning not just for her galaxy far, far away, but for ours, and the geeky, wonderful worlds that we hold dear. The burning of Teldrassil changed everything, but did its resolution feel grounded, relatable, and most importantly, historical? What could have been a reckoning, a wounded divide, and source of personal new hatreds for generations to come, became instead an icon of renewal, a catalyst for us to overcome our desire and need for vengeance. Now, as of late, we've been delivered these narratives that focus on large cosmic forces vying for ultimate control of truth and power. But Warcraft once thrived on one of the old reliables of storytelling, character conflict. The many people who came to call Azeroth home were of differing values, wounds, and pride that more often collided into something tragically brutal, but meaningful in scope. The downfall of Arthas Menethil was powerful because his pride was sincere, and it shone as the driving, relatable focus within the cosmic scheme of the Dreadlords and the Scourge and the Jailer. That was a different era, one where consequences still proudly echoed across unfolding chapters. This is how we get the calling of Stratholme, when a personal righteousness overcomes the optics of what you think you know to be right. And then there's Sylvanas Windrunner. She was a broken soul hardened by death, and her motives grandiose. Those motives, however, became the scapegoat that spared the Horde the blame and consequences for what happened at Teldrassil. The pang of terror was cut short, and no true vengeance was allowed in the wake of it. No dark mirror held to the audience. Saurfang came close. His internal crisis, his shame, his final stand, they had weight because they were those climaxing, epic moments of unity that we love in this franchise. But instead of sparking a new rally cry in the hearts of the young Horde, Blizzard used Saurfang and Teldrassil as catalysts for universal peace, breaking the cycle, as it were. But cycles are not broken through speeches and singular sacrifice. They're broken through realized consequences, through traumatic memory, and through tension that doesn't always resolve on cue for the next world-ending threat. What made Andor powerful as a series for me is how it allowed hatred to burn through memory, never forgetting and never forgiving. That is what the burning of Teldrassil needed to escalate. Why should a young night elf realistically forgive the Horde? Instead of manufactured wisdom, where is the everlasting bitterness? A new generation who sees the Horde not as neighbors to be tended to, but as undeserving monsters. That is Warcraft, or it sure used to be. Teldrassil could have been Warcraft's version of the Gorman Massacre, an event that ignited lasting scars and announced itself as a call for heroes to choose sides not just based on faction, but unconscious, flawed, or otherwise. Allow the Alliance to bring justice, and let the Horde confront its darker natures. Instead, the Horde apologized, pointed fingers, and the Alliance forgave. This isn't peace, my friends. This is historical amnesia disguised as closure. In Andor, we have the character Clea, a woman whose calm, focused fury was forged in childhood trauma. She is the orphan that Warcraft refuses to embrace, Not evil, but never forgetting. Now, let's think about Zircon, a young troll who lost his father. But how? We don't know. Why is it that in this expansion about generational war, was it not the case that Zircon's father was slain by Alliance soldiers? Why couldn't we have a Zircon that inherited old hatreds as well as forging new ones? Not because it's right, but because it's true to life on Azeroth. This is how characters become mirrors, not to ourselves but to the worlds they live in. That's how stories become reflections worth watching. When Horde soldiers march through Koltiran towns, leaving orphans in their wake, how is that not going to stir up a lasting impact? Oh, it's okay, child. They were at war when they didn't want to be. And that child just, grows up wizened, without ever confronting or acting on the impact of this traumatic event. This isn't how stories and characters grow. That's how they vanish. When you peak your characters at the highest moral good early as possible, where do they go? Only downwards. No room to grow. When every character becomes a peace seeker, Warcraft will lose its potential for the heroic moments of unity that we love about it in the first place. You need two sides to go at each other for a bit before they make up. Warcraft used to thrive on justified hatred. And it's what made those moments of mutual alliance between two opposing factions actually meaningful. Blizzard has gone as far as sterilizing the motives of the most iconic greenskin haters. A utopia of racial unity between the Horde and Alliance might sound noble and honorable, but it kills the narrative's purpose. And the most powerful payoff that Blizzard could build toward, the inevitable, tragic collapse of that peace, is something they seem unwilling to pull the trigger on. Conflict is not just immaturity, it's the fire that tempers legacy. It's how we learn who we are and what we must never become. Warcraft doesn't need another world-ending threat. It just needs a world that remembers, that lets orphans hate, a world that lets flawed leaders commit to their cause with or without question, and a world that lets truth tear a rift in time. We can't always brush away the pain of loss with another hopeful seed or wide-eyed messiah, because justice starts with scars, not speeches. Andor reminds us what Warcraft is starting to forget. Conflict must cost something. It must propel something and give new meaning to the future conflicts. We need to witness the truth that is the triumph of common evil, not cosmic misunderstanding. Let people fall, let ideologies clash, and let history be heavy. Because right now, Warcraft is drifting into the same trap that the Titans fell into. Everything just becomes a point of view, everyone right in their own eyes. When every villain is just misunderstood, when every war is just perspective without passion, then we lose the spine of myth itself. No one then dares to ask, what if truth isn't subjective? What if truth is sacred? And our failure is constantly trying to rewrite it. Like the Titans, many don't want to inherit truth. They want to reforge it. And that is the great mistake, is that believing perspective is enough to replace timelessly learned meaning. Warcraft hardly needs another mysterious villain like Twinkletoes over here. What it needs is mirrors. Characters that reflect our fears, our pride, and our misbeliefs. Not idealized versions of ourselves, but honest ones. Mirrors that allow us to choose, not between Horde and Alliance, but between the justice of truth and the injustice of illusion. The truth is like a gemstone, without pressure, without friction, and scarring the land. It remains buried, and its shape hidden. When we erase memory, when we soften reactions to atrocities, when we scapegoat instead of confront, what we're really doing is exiling truth from the story.
The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. And that truth has been exiled from this chamber.
She was talking about us, and our current battle to hold on to truth in an age where it's feared. My name is xaxxas, and if you enjoyed this video today, please drop a like, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and hopefully some of this resonated with you. And P.S. Go watch Andor.